thank you so much for joining me for this yoga session. Hopefully you're staying safe and well, and things are going well in your life, and if not, you're taking them one day at a time as you need to. You're resting, you're going out there and you're being awesome. And so thank you for practicing awareness and moving your body and being in the present moment, because you know the more you practice it, the easier it is to attain. So this session might be a little bit more moderate to with some big stretches. So we'll get the blood flowing a little bit and then have some big stretches to let that oxygenated blood get deep into your muscle memory. So make sure you've got a yoga mat, or at least as much room as a yoga mat. You've got blankets for cushion, you've got blocks for support, and whatever else you would need. And let yourself settle in on your breath, taking time to find that comfortable seat and close your eyes if that is what works for you. If not, you just have a slight gaze a few feet in front of you, and you let your awareness settle in on your breath, taking as much time as you need to unhook from what is going on in the world, what is going on in your life as much as you can, and just be with your breath right here, right now, in the present moment. And let that breath get fuller and deeper as you settle in. Right away, you are practicing kindness, compassion, and love for yourself and with yourself, especially if you are having a hard time unhooking your thoughts, your awareness from what's going on, your to-do lists, what you've got planned for 3 weeks from now, what happened 15 years ago. All of that will be there. But if you spend some time finding that space between your thoughts, letting that space get bigger and longer, and just letting that space help you get that deeper connection to your intuition, to your gut. And then when you're done with that, when you go back out in the world, that thing you have to look forward to in 3 weeks, or the thing that happened 15 years ago, maybe they start to shift and look different. Let that breath get as full and deep as feels good. Start to do that 3-part yoga breath, filling up the lower third, then the middle third, then the upper third, and then release fully upper, middle, lower. Let that 3-part yoga breath help to keep you anchored in your body in the present moment. All you need to do right now is become obsessed with your breath. If your feet or toes start to feel tingly or uncomfortable, make sure you take time to arrange yourself so you do feel comfortable. And then press yourself down into your mat. Feel that connection to the floor, the building, the ground the building's built into, and then the world that connects us all. So think about engagement, or actively press down, a gentle squeeze, tilt of your pelvis, lift that front body up, tuck that tail down, flex those feet, press those knees away so you feel that support, that anchoring in, and then lift yourself right up out of that space and take up all that room around you that you are meant to take up. So think about engagement, or stretch yourself into the space. Think about lifting your heart, pulling those blades down. Feel that gentle pressure on the tops of your shoulders. And still you're breathing that full, deep 3-part 2-part yoga breath. And it's as full and deep as feels good. Navel, ribs, chest. Exhale fully, chest, ribs, navel. Stay with that awareness of that place right there behind your navel. Feel yourself move from that place. And then when you're ready to move, let your arms stretch up above your head, and we're going to gently twist to one side. Doesn't matter which side. Inhaling and exhaling, going side to side. This can be a little faster than I'm going, or even a little bit slower. Try to keep your navel pretty stable, not moving, and you're lifting the heart and then twisting the heart. We're going to pause, so your navel needs to stay pointing, and you have to kind of gently pull it back as you then twist that top part. So you are twisting at that oblique, not that low back. That low back should be nice and long and strong and pretty flat. No twist in it. Inhaling and exhaling. We're going to twist to the other side. Same thing. Lift yourself. Keep that navel grounded, that lower body grounded. You are lifting and twisting that upper girdle. You're keeping that lower girdle solid, so you're not twisting that low back. Inhale and exhale. I'm not ever going to really lead you in a direction where you're going to twist your low back that way. I'm not to say that you can't ever do it, because yes, doing gentle twists there do feel good, but it's hyper flexible, hyper mobile, and I am teaching you how to use it as support, and then you put the stretch and the twist into the middle, into those obliques, which I love this little move where you have your hands on your shoulders, and you've got those elbows pulled back, you've got those shoulder blades pulled back, and then you are gently twisting on top. That upper body is gently twisting that upper girdle. Inhaling and exhaling. You can have your eyes open. They can be closed. They could be moving in the direction of your movement, where your arms are, or you can keep it straight ahead. It really just was what feels good to you. And then we're going to let that just release. Inhaling and exhaling. Your hands show up at your heart, your navel, one of each. Down at your side, whatever feels good. Breathing full and deep. Navel, ribs, chest. Exhaling fully, chest, ribs, navel. Let that breath be nice and full and deep, and then bring yourself down onto your back, and have yourself, so you, if you need cushion, right, you can always bring a blanket down. You're going to bring yourself down onto your back. Keep those knees bent to begin with, and do that windshield wiper move. So your feet are a little bit wider than your hips. You're always trying to press those glutes down, and you are rocking and swaying side to side in order to start to open up those hips. Bring those shoulders out of your ears. Try to get that nice long neck. Only if it feels all right in your body and doesn't hurt your low back. Then lift your feet. Only if you can keep also those glutes down. Pay attention. Is your butt, your crack, lifted up off the floor? Let yourself move however feels good. Inhaling and exhaling. And then bring those feet down flat. You're going to prepare for bridge. So all your girdles are engaged. You are lifting that front body. You are bearing down with that back body. Let's go through a few pelvic tilts here. This is where you make the diamond and you bring the thumbs to the navel and the pointer fingers to the pubic bone. And then you gently press into your feet and lift your hips, your glutes, just a little bit up off the floor, and do this gentle pelvic tilt to get that pelvis in that place of alignment. So think about it being a clock, and 12 is your navel, and 6 is your pubic bone, and your hip flexors are 9 and 3. And in order for mine to be pulled into place, I really have to activate and pull down and get into a place where I feel nice and supported. And so maybe you don't have to work as hard as I do, but I really have to work at the awareness and then also just the engagement. So it takes a lot, and it's so amazing when you do that. So keep practicing. Press into those balls. Keep that pelvis lifted and lift up into your first bridge. We're going to lower and lift. Keep pulling that tail down. This is you strengthening right there at that lower girdle. So your low back is going to be in a place of support. Inhaling and exhaling. You're going to pause, lifting those hips up as high as you can. Don't lift your heels. Don't just use your toes. Lower down one vertebrae at a time. When you get down, this is where you can relax and rock and circle or windshield wiper, whatever feels good to you, in order to reset back into your body. So you're not doing as much work here, as you're still holding yourself, so you're not hurting yourself, but you are not like you have a lot of tension. You're nice and loose and relaxed as you start to move. And then coming into the pose, you start to get more active, pulling that tail down, lifting those hip flexors, getting your clock in that place of support, spreading those shoulder blades as wide as feels good, and then gently press your biceps, your triceps into the mat as you lift up into your bridge position again. Keep pulling that tail down, keep lifting those hip flexors. Inhale and exhale. You're going to pick up that right foot, press it to the sky, and then bring it down. Press into both feet. Lift those hips a little bit higher, and then pick up that left leg. And you're going to move side to side here, pausing, pressing as you come down, pressing into both, and lifting those hips a little bit higher. So you're just not kicking one leg and then the other. So do 3 or 4 each side, and then that last one, pause, lift, lower down, rock, circle, windshield wiper, whatever feels good. Inhaling and exhaling. And then come into that beginning bridge position. Make sure your pelvis is pulled into that place of support, and then bring that right ankle on top of that left knee. Keep actively pressing down through both glutes. Keep actively pressing down through both feet. That right foot is stacked on your left knee, so it's not really pressing down, but you can still have that foot nice and active. Inhale and exhale, only if it feels all right to you. Make sure you feel supported. Lift, keeping that right knee open, feeling that opening in the hip flexor. Inhale and exhale, lower down. Right foot down next to left. Do whatever feels good. Rock, circle, windshield wiper. Inhale and exhale. And then back into your supported bridge to start with. Both feet on the floor, pulling that pelvis into that place of support, and then bringing that left ankle on top of the right knee, and then actively pressing through that left leg so you open up that hip a little bit more. Bring your hands to right where your hip flexors are, right? This is, this is a hinge. This is what you're doing here is you are hinging. And then, then we make it a bridge, but it's a hinge right here. Inhale and exhale. Press into that foot. Lift your glutes. You might not get very high off the ground. It is okay. Just don't use your toes. Lower down. Let both feet come down. Rock. Circle. Inhale and exhale. And then just bring yourself over onto those bellies, the stomach, letting yourself rest for a few breaths there, getting your breath and having your heart rate come down. You can always make a little pillow for your head and do a little windshield wiper. Inhale and exhale. Keep breathing. You are still doing all the stuff. You are trying to pull up with that lower body. You are trying to press down with that lower body, or pull up with that front body and then press down with that back body. Hands come down by your sides. Walk those legs in so they're pretty active, and you are pressing through the feet on the floor. Your hands are down by your sides. Whether you have your palms up or down is totally up to you. Inhale and exhale. You're going to inhale and lift a little bit off the floor. If you're stretching that upper body, keep that lower body heavy to start with. Let those arms float up only if it feels good. Keep that lower body heavy even as you let those legs squeeze together, and then stretch up off the floor. And then you come into your fullest expression. Think about trying to stretch yourself apart. Not so much about trying to get up and then to the sky, and then, or how high you can get up, and then you release and bend those knees and bend those elbows and rest that head if you want, and do those windshield wipers if you want, or maybe just the like little wiggle is all that you want. And then you're going to bring those hands so they are right by your shoulders. You're pulling those elbows down. Same thing. Legs really active here, and you're pressing them down. Inhale and exhale. You're going to be looking down at the mat. You're going to inhale, and I want you to lift from that lower body. Think about trying to lift towards the wall in front of you, not so much trying to get to the ceiling above you, keeping those shoulders really active, those elbows pulled back and down. Let your upper body kind of be light, and let your lower body be nice and heavy. And then when you feel complete, release, windshield wiper, reset, inhale and exhale. We're going to bring those arms now in front, your legs back active. You're pulling that girdle into place, that upper girdle into place. You're going to lift right arm, left leg, lower down, left arm, right leg. You're going to move side to side. Inhale and exhale. You're moving from your trunk, your torso. You're just not flapping your arms and legs around. If you want to lift and have everything be lifted and move, that is totally cool. If that makes you want to vomit, then don't do it. And then when you feel complete, you're going to bring yourself up into that table position, and then pull yourself back into your child. Keep pulling your tail down so you protect that low back, and maybe you need to pull those knees a little bit apart and let yourself breathe full and deep. Navel, ribs, chest. Exhaling fully, chest, ribs, navel. Make sure you're staying hydrated, so get a drink as you need it. Breathing full and deep. Navel, ribs, chest. Exhaling fully, chest, ribs, navel. Really try to have that navel be where the beginning and the end of your awareness. And so be with all of the place in between. All right, when you're ready, lift yourself into your table. Make sure you've got cushion. So if you need cushion for your knees, even though we might not be here for that long, but just make sure you're comfortable. Hands right underneath the shoulders, knees right underneath those hips. You are lifting yourself up as you press yourself down. Both things are happening. You are still pulling that back body down. You are still lifting that front body. You are not hyperextending those elbows, and you are trying to find that weight at the top part of your hand, not so much the wrist. You can always bring your wrists up. I don't know if those are blocking, but bring the wrist up and then bring them down. So then there's a gentle little space there that is protecting. And then you are moving through that little teeny tiny, we did that pelvic tilt, laying down on our back, and then you're going to do it kneeling, pulling that tail down. I have to, like I said, do a lot of engagement. Then it's the upper body, shoulders out of your ears, pull those blades apart, and then pull them together, and then pause with them pulled apart, and then get your cat and cow to be more in that middle back. So you are getting more flexibility in that middle back, inhaling and exhaling, breathing full and deep, staying with that awareness of pressing down evenly and lifting up evenly. Couple more, and then pause back in your child. Rest back completely. This is where, especially if you're feeling it in your arms, right? It's not, there's always going to be sensation, but it's going to feel different. But you're always taking care of yourself. If you want to reach those arms back behind you, sometimes that adds a nice stretch on your shoulder. Please only do whatever feels good to you. What I am saying is merely suggestions. I mean, they're all really fantastic suggestions, but you're the one that only really knows your body. And so depending on if you played softball or volleyball, or if you have a workplace injury, or you just have a bum leg, right? Or a weird shoulder, you are always paying attention and modifying and doing what feels good to you. But the more awareness you put in how your limbs are attached to your trunk, and how your trunk is where all the magic is happening, then it is just amazing what you can do. It's what athletes feel. It's what dancers feel. And it's not just for them. It should be for everyday, regular schmoes like us. Not that you're regular, but I mean, yeah, we are. That's just how it is. All right, lift yourself into that table, and then let yourself come the knees and that arms a little bit further away from each other, so then you pull yourself forward into that kneeling plank. Inhale and exhale. And if you're like, I want to go ahead and come up to the full plank, I want you to do that. You're always protecting, pulling that tail down. This is a place where that low back can really feel it. It can be a little dicey if you're not pulling it down and keeping the weight out of it. All right, if you are up, bring yourself down, and then press back into your child once again. Inhaling and exhaling. Stay with your breath and how you feel. And now back into that kneeling or full plank position. Keep those girdles engaged. Release down. Feel that heaviness in that lower body. If you're ready to press up into a bigger cobra or into that up dog, just to get that nice stretch, if you're feeling a little bit more, if you still want to do with a baby cobra, then please do that. Now, if it does not hurt your low back to curl your toes and then lift yourself into your downward dog, please do that here. If not, you're lowering down, coming into a table, and then pulling into a downward dog. You're finding the balls of your feet and your hands. You are not letting the toes or the fingers do any work. Keep the knees and the elbows nice and soft, and the shoulders and the hips engaged. Inhaling and exhaling, you're moving as much or as little as feels good. You are in that plank position. You're going to pull yourself forward or you're in that downward dog. You're going to pull yourself forward into that plank. Breathing full and deep. Remember, you can make this right into knee down plank. You're going to lift yourself into downward dog. So that is what we're doing for 3 times. Pulling forward into plank, knee down plank, and then pulling up to downward dog. And then the next time you come up into that plank, you're going to drop to your knees, and then you're going to let yourself rest. Take the weight off your upper body, resting completely. Inhale and exhale. So hopefully you're starting to feel that, especially if you've been doing yoga with me for a while, how it takes the strain out of your hands, and it takes the onus out of your hands and the work out of your hands, and then it puts it in your upper body, in that upper pectoral chest girdle, which is where the magic is happening. And once you learn how to, maneuver your own body from within, which if you are anything like me, it takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of energy to be that aware. It takes a lot of energy in order to get the activation that you need to do it, and it's constant paying attention. It's constant just experimenting with what feels good. And, also just trusting, you're always going to make the right call for yourself. All right, you're going to come into that downward dog when you're ready, or you're just going to come to table to step yourself up into that forward fold. It doesn't matter how you do it. I'm going to have some blocks already up here for support. I love to have that for that lift of the floor up to me a little bit is why I use the blocks, because it just helps with my just having that little bit extra lift. So you're in that forward fold. You are on those balls and those heels. Those knees are really bent. You are hinging over those legs. The upper body is trying to come lower than the lower body. And you're moving as much or as little as feels good. Don't come forward on your toes. Try to stay back on your heels, lifting your toes as much as you can to have that weight on your back body. Eventually you're going to be done with the stretch and the movement. You're in that forward fold. You're going to take an inhale halfway into that flat back. Exhale, reach for the toes. Inhale halfway, flat back. Exhale, reach for the toes. Inhale. If you're ready to come up into a great big reverse swan dive, please do. If not, halfway up, and then lift up into that awkward chair, and then press yourself up. And then, yes, if you want to come into as much of a back bend then as feels good to you, you are doing that. Remember to keep those girdles engaged. You're always pulling that back body down. You are always lifting that front body, and you are doing that by engaging the framework and the muscle. It is not just you squeezing the bejesuses out of the muscles, like squeezing those glutes and jamming those blades together. It is you definitely engaging and having them be working for you, and then it is you engaging the framework around them in order for you to feel that solid base, navel dimples, and the dimples right at the back of your body is a solid base down, and the navel dimples up is just like it's floating. Hopefully you can feel that. Inhaling and exhaling, you're lifting all your digits. You're spreading them wide. You're feeling those balls and those heels engaged, and you're pressing down through the four corners or the tripod, whatever makes sense in your head. Bring your digits down one at a time for that gentle grip on the mat. You are never, like I said, doing much work with the digits. They are just there to look pretty. Your kneecaps are soft and they come up into your thighs. Always, that helps to protect that delicate knee joint. And then you are lifting that front body, dropping that back body to come into that solid base. And then heart lifted, blades down to come up into your full mountain. Think about trying to press the crown of your head and your tail always in two separate directions. All right, from the top of your space, you're going to inhale, you're going to lift into as much of that back bend as feels good. Exhale, you're hinging into that forward fold, lift up, halfway, flat back. Come back down to step back into that plank, that knee down plank, or you go right to a child or a table, release down to the belly, and then lift into whatever cobra or up dog you want to go to, and then come into the downward dog. And then here's where we're going to pause, and I know we typically would do a few more, but we're going to pause and we're going to lift that right leg up into the sky. You can also be in a three-legged table. You are breathing full and deep. This twist is still not in your low back. It's in your middle back. So keep your heart anchored. And now your navel is twisting away. And then you're going to bring that right foot up between your hands. And it might be more than one step. And that is okay. So find yourself between that right and that left leg. It's not that right and that left foot. It is that right and that left leg starting at that glute hip flexor. And then lift yourself up. Bring those hands to your heart, breathing full and deep. Inhale and exhale. You're trying to keep your glutes, your back pockets square to the back of your space, your front pockets square to the front of your space, and not use, especially the ball of that right foot. Stay lifted. Let that right or that left arm reach forward, and then let that right arm reach back. And it might feel weird, especially as you pull that shoulder in. You can also, being careful with your elbows, just bring it to right where your tail would be as you start to rotate a little bit more to the right. Keep that navel solid. You're not really reaching forward. I want you to stay lifted. Inhaling and exhaling, bringing yourself back to that runner's lunge position to bring yourself down into that place on the floor, and then you are stepping back and moving through a flow if that is what so moves you. If not, you can just press right up into a downward dog or a table, or of course rest in a child at any time. Take a couple breaths, inhaling and exhaling in that reset posture, and then you are moving into that three-legged dog, that three-legged table with that left leg lifted. And then bring it through into the top of your space. Take your time. As many steps as you need. Now I've got my feet on railroad tracks. I'm pressing evenly through the right and the left ball. I'm holding myself in that lower trunk. Inhale and exhale. I'm keeping those kneecaps pulled up into those thighs. Not using the toes, the balls of, especially that front foot. You are getting a nice stretch in the toes of that back foot, but still try to find yourself mostly using the ball as where the weight is. So keeping those shoulders active, that heart lifted, those blades down, you're going to just bring that right arm now forward and then bring that left arm back, and you might feel a little awkward. So you can always, being careful, bring it to like right where your tail would be, And let yourself rotate so you get that nice oblique twist. And then bring yourself back into the runner's lunge to step back and then move through a flow or not. Because maybe you're like, I just want to press up to downward dog for 2 to 3 breaths, breathing full and deep. Inhaling and exhaling. And then everyone is going to make their way down to rest in that child. Stay with your breath, inhaling and exhaling. Make sure, like I said, you're drinking water, you're always hydrating. And then when you're ready, you're going to make your way into that downward dog or that table in order to make your way to the front of your space, coming into that forward fold, and then lift halfway, flat back, back down for the toes, lift back up above your head, and then back, hinging to the floor, halfway up, flat back, and then back down into the plank, the knee down plank, moving through the flow, if that is what moves you. And then coming into that downward dog, inhale and exhale, bringing that right leg up, coming into that runner's lunge once again. That left foot and right foot are on railroad tracks. Use those blocks. Maybe not have your stance too far apart or too wide apart. So maybe choke up a little bit on that back leg. And that is just so you can feel balance on that front leg, definitely not using those toes. You are lifting yourself, using your arms at your hips or heart, and then you're going to come to stand on that right foot. I'm bringing my left foot to rest on that block, but it can also just be hanging out, flexing it, keeping that knee bent. Don't use the toes of that right foot that you are balancing on. And of course, if you've got a wall or a nice sturdy piece of furniture, you are doing that. You're going to press through that heel. Let that leg lengthen. Try to keep lifting it up so you don't scrape the floor, but it barely scrapes. And then make sure you've got room. Now, I'm going to be careful I don't boop my head. You are definitely making sure you don't boop your head as you come into a warrior 3 and then into that standing split. So this is a hinge over that right leg. Inhaling and exhaling. And then you are bending that front right leg. You are dropping those back legs. And you are smearing down. You're also bending that right knee. So you're in that warrior 1 leg. You're smearing down that back leg. And you are finding yourself in between. And now open up into that warrior 2. Inhale and exhale. Let yourself hinge into your side angle. Breathing full and deep. Take that right arm down to the floor or a block, or you're resting the right elbow on the right thigh. That left arm reaching up to the sky, and then keeping those girls engaged. Reach above your head and then take it behind you, not straining yourself, right to where your tail would be. Inhale and exhale. And then you're going to lengthen into a bound triangle using that right, so that right arm isn't down, it is now coming down. I'm even going to bring my stance up, and then I've lengthened that front leg. It's no longer bent, but I've got a nice, it's soft, and so I'm not hyperextending. And then let that left arm float up into now your triangle, breathing full and deep. Inhale and exhale. Stay with your breath. Look down towards that right foot and let yourself windmill down and then rotate into that runner's lunge. So you're always taking care of yourself. You're going to step back and move through a flow, or just go right to that downward dog, or right to a child. Inhaling and exhaling. Stay with your breath. I am going to turn around so I stay facing you when we get to the warrior two part. So, what were we in? Were we in a downward dog? I think we were. You're going to lift that left leg up. Or maybe you went through a flow. I'm sorry, I kind of lost it there. But you are going to wherever feels good. You lift that left leg up. You come back into that runner's lunge now on the opposite side. Left leg forward. Now I do remember I want to scoop back a little bit so I don't boot my head. So I'm going to bring that runner's lunge back to a little bit to the back of my space, and then take my time lifting up into standing on now that opposite leg. I've got that right knee bent. I've got that right foot on the block. I'm not really putting any weight there. Burp, burp. You can use a wall. And then we play around with that warrior three. Inhaling and exhaling. Use your hands on the support of the wall or the blocks. And then go into the standing split. So you are coming into that standing split. And then you are gently bringing those right feet down. And you are smearing that down. You're bending that left knee. So you're then going to open up into that warrior two when you feel steady. And it might be a minute or two. You reach into that warrior two. Inhale and exhale. You hinge into that side angle. This is where you use whatever support you need. Always taking time to be as supported and protected as feels good to you. Inhale and exhale. You're going to bring that right arm to that right wrist to just rest right where your tail would be. You're going to lift at that place to then lengthen that front leg. And now you're in those triangle legs. And then when you feel all right, you're going to lift up to that triangle pose. And then take your time windmilling down into that runner's lunge to step back and move through that flow, or go right to that downward dog, or rest in that child. Eventually, after these few things, we are just going to rest in that child. So if you're not quite there yet, take your time. Resting down, completely resetting. Inhaling and exhaling. Remember, if you want cushion for your knees, you can always bring it down. We are going to be on our knees for just a bit. We're going to do a last oblique twisty thing here. And it's a big stretch. So you're always protecting yourself and what feels good to you, and only going as far as feels good to you always. Never pushing it. You never want to pop something. So to start with, I am going to make cushion for the knees because this is all done on the knee. So I want that. And then, you know what? Come to think of it, I could make this blanket out, but I'm just going to put two down because you're also going to be resting on a shoulder. And so if you want a little cushion for your shoulder as well, take time to bring that down. You're coming into that table position. You're pressing evenly down, lifting up evenly. You're trying to keep your navel, so you're definitely pulling that tail down, lifting those hip flexors, trying to keep that navel glued to the floor. It's like in cement to the floor. It is like anchored to the floor. And then you're going to lift that left arm and come into that stretch. So don't twist into the low back. Twist in those obliques. And then you're going to tuck that left arm underneath that right arm, and you're going to rest on that left shoulder and press evenly back into both knees. Inhale and exhale. This is where you can bring, I've got it on a block, but you can just have it on the floor. Inhale and exhale. Your head, you're being very careful with your neck. You're not straining anything. You're not letting it just fall. You're always being very intentional. Breathing full and deep. Keep trying to lift those both glutes up a little bit higher. And then take your time. Come back out from underneath and rest in that child for just a breath or two. Inhaling and exhaling. And then lift yourself up, coming into that table position, and then it's all about the other side. Keep that navel anchored. Let yourself move into that puppy dog stretch on that side, only going as far as feels good. Inhaling and exhaling. And then lifting yourself, releasing to reset, however feels good to you. Inhale and exhale. In that child, resting completely. Come up and have a seat on your sitting bones. I'm going to spread this blanket out just to have a little bit of cushion. But not too much cushion, because you want to make sure you feel supported. If you're up on too high, you might almost fall off, and I do not want you to hurt yourself. So find that comfortable seat. Those legs are as close to you as feels good. You're just going to start to make some just gentle circles with your upper body, moving around in whatever direction feels good. To start with, it's really windy outside right now. Inhale, it's just blowing like nutso. Inhale and exhale. You're going to reverse. Let that massage happen. Keep trying to pull that heart a little bit away from your navel. Inhaling and exhaling, and then pause. Hands are at your heart, your navel, one of each. Out to your side, breathing full and deep. Whatever feels good to you. Let yourself just be here for a couple more deep, full breaths. Just experiment. Just experiencing what your body feels like after moving for this time we've spent together. Feel it as it settles back into its natural place, and maybe it just feels a little bit more tingly, a little bit more open. Hopefully you can carry that with you for the rest of your day. And if you've got time, take time right now, 5 minutes, 8 minutes, and lay down and go into relaxation or sit in meditation. And you remember, you can always sit in supported meditation. You don't have to be sitting without support. So I always want to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. All right. Peace to you all. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me. Until next time. Bye.